GitHub. But before we get into the session, I would want to invite Abhishek from Invoker Tech, who have done the major contribution into the GitHub repository. Abhishek, over to you.
Yeah, hi all. Thanks for this great session. A lot of insightful things coming out of this boot camp. And so I'll just quickly introduce myself. My name is Abhishek Krishna, and I am the founder and CEO of Invoker Tech. And I've had experience with building games earlier, like starting with mainly Neuron Gym mainly Neuron Gym. So in that, we worked on neuroscience-based healthcare products mainly. So there we mainly build games. That's where I learned most things about building products, building startups, and so I had this opportunity to work with Access Healthcare on building microservices, as microservices are something which are not just relevant to healthcare, but are applicable in multiple fields. So we had been working on some music video based platform called Ojam, and for that, once we were looking at scaling it, microservices is something which we were we narrowed down on implementing on scale, and Netflix being one of the top media platforms as well as contributors in terms of taking the microservices movement forward and contributing so much to the open source, and so that kind of formed the basis for us and us working on the microservices. And since being a big believer in the open source thing and what the mission of Access Health is, so we then ultimately we uh, decided to keep the code available for everyone, and collaborated with Priyanka, Ved, Dr. Balaji, Dr. Pankaj, and everyone else at Access Health to make this available for everyone at SEA. And I would like all the members to look at the GitHub repository. I see only like 2-3 people have forked the repository which we've been working on so far. And although this is the first time where we are sort of uh, presenting to you guys this microservices, uh, basic. This is like the basic first set of modules which help you set up microservices. And I would suggest all the people to work on the future applications and whatever things you're building moving forward on the based on the microservices architecture. We've already talked about so much already about how it's so useful. So so yeah, we've already talked about. Krishan covered it really well already. So yeah, so I would like you guys to look at the repository, fork this, watch this, contribute to this going forward, and also after this call, we can sort of uh, plan around taking this further and having more microservices available and more examples of. So what we've uh, put up on the repository, which Wade will demo just after this, is it's all based on Java, but we would like other members to contribute uh, like you know for implementation in other languages. And also, since microservices are anyway very interoperable, so you can just go ahead and use this and try to plug in your existing things on the basis of e-objects, and use some of the microservices. Implement the basic architecture, and then use your uh, existing legacy systems along with this microservices architecture. So yeah, like that's a brief from my side for now. And I'd like to invite Wade again to show you guys a demo of how all this works and can be implemented.
Thank you so much, Abhishek, for your valuable contribution, taking out time to do it for everyone else. Dr. Balaji, Dr. Pankaj, a word from you.
Yeah, I was waiting for the demo to happen actually, but anyway, wonderful
Yeah.
contribution to the open source community, because once you it's the inertia of rest and inertia of motion. So once you get across from the inertia of rest, then then the wheel can keep rolling. But getting across, or to make the wheel move first time, to overcome the inertia of rest, that's the most difficult part, and that's the part you have done. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks a lot. It's a pleasure, with yeah, with all your all your support, we've been able to do this. And yeah, I would like other SEA members to sort of contribute first by starting to have a look at this repository which we pushed, and fork this, have a look at this, have your team look at this, and like and also contribute to. So this is just a small step in terms of what could be on the could be on open source around this microservices, like you said. And still, it's the first 5%, 10% work which we've done, but there's like so much more to be done, different modules. And I guess collectively, as a single company or a single startup, we cannot build it all, but together we can we can move at at 10x speed. And when it comes to technical collaboration and stuff, if we keep our philosophy in terms of code and technology open source, and the business layer should be separate from it, but whatever tech you're building, and should be built in a interoperable way, and which is the core for the market microservices architecture as well. So then we can all help each other grow at a much faster pace as a community.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Abhishek. And as you said, there will be more, and now this will energize the rest of the team to sort of start contributing microservices. They'll adopt it, and then when they write more, it will come back to the same repository.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Wait, over to you.
Yes, Priyanka. So in microservice architecture, it's basically a architectural style where we are using same technology, same Java based or Spring based or PHP based, but we are building services as a small services instead of in monolithic application where we are building services based on our whole application, like a single application where we have a single database, single service classes, uh, single controller layer. Instead of a single database or providing as a whole application as a single monolithic application in microservice architecture, we break down our microservice based on a single services, simple services communicating to each other and maintaining a separate private database. So in this slide, we are trying to show a different pattern or part of a microservices. So basically in any microservices, we have a few different patterns or building blocks. The first building block is development block or development pattern, where we provide a core microservice Spring Boot classes. After that, we provide cloud config services, Spring Cloud config services. And if we are providing any messaging like JMS based, event based, then Spring Cloud Stream. After that, we have routing patterns. So suppose we provided application classes. So in application, if we providing application classes and we are breaking down simple services, that time we have to provide us some way so both services can communicate to each other. For that purpose, we have to provide a way so any service can discover any other service. So within microservice system on running environment, we have to provide some kind of discovery or registration service. For that purpose, in a routing pattern, we have to provide a discovery service. In Spring, for that purpose, we have Cloud, Netflix, Eureka. And after that, our this microservice application will also communicate to Web API or mobile API or maybe other microservices outside open APIs. For that purpose, we have to provide some kind of gateway, a centralized place to for all cross-cutting concerns. For that purpose, we have to provide a Spring Cloud, Netflix, Joule, or any gateway codes. Apart from this, when we are providing our main business logic as a small services, that time it may happen that something may not be working, something may be broken. That time we have to provide some kind of resiliency. In resiliency, simplest way of providing resiliency is load balancing. Using Netflix Ribbon, we can provide load balancing. So suppose if our one instance of service not working, then this load balancer will divert all traffic to another instance of same service. Or even after load balancing, if we have somehow some codes are not working in service, that time we have Netflix Hestrix provide a circuit breaker pattern. So a separate optional execution path can be chosen based on whatever we provided logic there. For that purpose, we have Netflix Hestrix. And same in fallback pattern, we have bulkhead pattern also using same Netflix Hestrix. We can develop that one also. And from building pattern or CI/CD side, we have Docker or Phoenix server or Travis server for CI continuous integration, continuous development service. So for building any microservice, we need such type of services. So in this type of services we call as infrastructure services. It's mainly required before even if we provide any application services like in our MVP, if we are providing, even if we are providing a single registration service, patient registration service. Before writing that patient registration service, we have to provide such type of infrastructure microservices. Apart from this, we have to also provide something for logging. So when our services, microservices running as a single service, then every microservice like our registration microservice, visit, appointment, all microservice will create some kind of log. In monolithic application, it's very easy to write down these logs to some file. But in microservice, we have to provide some centralized place to write down these logs. For that purpose, we have to provide ELK support, Elasticsearch, Logstash, and Kibana. And also for any kind of debugging, we need some kind of span ID. So for that purpose, we had Spring Cloud Saluth and Zipkin for same purpose. So we can, using this, we can write down trace ID and span ID. So suppose if in registration system, we are starting some service and this service will call something in visit or in appointment. So first we are providing one trace ID, and after that per microservice we are providing span ID. So at debugging time, we can simply look into trace ID and span ID, and we can verify the logs. And apart from logging, we have to also provide security patterns, authentication, authorization based on OAuth or JWT. So this whole different microservices are counted as infrastructure microservices, and it's required before developing any application microservices. So Invoker Tech provided and released these services, infrastructure services, and it's now available in our GitHub. So anyone can download it and run it and build based on these microservices. So next slide, Priyanka.
Ved, am I correct in then saying that this set of infrastructure microservices provided on GitHub will enable instant setup of DevOps infrastructure for microservice development?
Yes, exactly. So
Okay.
anyone who wants to develop something from scratch can directly start from patient registration, visitor registration without worrying about developing infrastructure microservices.
Great. Yeah. Thanks.
So in this application, we are trying to show the complete flow or complete environment of microservices. In this one, if you can see, the first part is our Spring Cloud config server. So in monolithic application, when when we are running monolithic application, that time in somewhere in some file we provide some configuration, some value sets like database username, password, or some URL. Such type of information we provide in monolithic application, but in our application where we are providing a service as a single microservice, we need a centralized configuration, centralized place where we can configure different information for per microservices. For registration, we can provide one registration configuration. For visit, we can provide one visit configuration. For appointment, we can provide a appointment configuration. And from a central place, from a single place, we can manage that configuration. For that purpose, we have a Spring Cloud config server. So when we have to start this microservice, we have to start this environment. That time, first we have to start Spring Cloud config server. And that configuration we will provide on GitHub, Git repo. And when this Spring Cloud will start, it will read from GitHub. From GitHub, it will fetch the YAML file, and it will read and store that properties. And after Cloud Config Server, we have to start our Eureka service discovery. So for this Eureka service discovery, we will provide one configuration file like bootstrap.yml or bootstrap.properties. And that bootstrap.properties, we will provide a pointer to this Spring Cloud config server. So when it will start, when Eureka service discovery service will start, it will read from Cloud config server and it will start at given port number. And in Eureka discovery server, it will every 30 seconds it will scan for any available services. And if any service is available, it will register it. That 30 second is a default one we call default heartbeat. We can configure it for 15 second or 20 second or any other number, but by default for 30 second it will verify if service is available and it will register. And if it's down, then after 30 second heartbeat, it will unregister that service. So basically, after Spring Cloud config server and Eureka discovery server, if we are starting any application microservice, it will be registered inside our discovery service. So now, if we have 3 different microservices running on 3 different port with 3 different IP address, the main purpose of this Eureka service is providing a service ID instead of IP address. So microservice M1 or registration, if wants to communicate with visit or appointment, that time it will use a service ID instead of IP address and port number. It's very useful when we are deploying this on any cloud or any server where our IP address and port number will be changed. That time, using this Eureka discovery server, we will always use only service ID instead of IP address and port number. So this discovery will convert all IP address and port number into service ID. And after that, we have API gateway. So main purpose of providing a gateway is providing cross-cutting concern at a central place. So all API, Open API, this Open API means a public API. Public API available to this microservice will first communicate to this gateway. Gateway will translate into a private API. So all our desktop, mobile, or other RESTful web services will first call this API. At API, we will also verify authentication authorization. We can also log our request response, and from this API gateway, it will translate or convert into a different microservices. So suppose if our UI from front end side, if some UI developer developing some UI front end page. So for UI developer, it will be like a monolithic application. UI developer will develop UI as a single page application, as a monolithic application, and it will use same API like a single server API. And from this API gateway, we will break down that API to a different microservice. So from gateway side to our internal side, it will be a different API, and from gateway to our UI side or front end side, it will be a single API. Such type of configuration we can provide using this API gateway. Apart from this API gateway, we have one Spring Boot admin server. Basically provide us with our virtual memory, how much we are using, if we are getting any error in Java profiling, and also some Spring Boot health. And also we have a Zipkin distributed logging server for distributed log, a centralized place where we can view all logs. Any question here? Okay, Priyanka, next slide. And we also released some XML XSD files that can be used in our program. Suppose you are building microservices, and when you are building database, and you have to create entity file, JP entity file or Hibernate entity file. That time we also release XML XSD based on MDDS code directory and elements. So using XML XSD code directory available on our GitHub, you can directly convert that into Java using JAXB library available in Java. So that entity file you can also create using our XML XSD. That will be very helpful if you are building something from scratch and you want to use all MDDS code directory. Next, Priyanka. Suppose a lot of our SE members working on legacy system already. They have a legacy system. They invested a lot of money, time, and energy in monolithic application, and it's not possible for them to start a completely new system from scratch in microservices. That time we have a strangler pattern. Using a strangler pattern, we can also break down our legacy system into microservices. So if we will look into microservice definition, mainly it's a service based. So your system should be a small service and able to communicate with each other. And after that, it should be discoverable and some resiliency pattern. So suppose if someone wants to convert their legacy system into microservices, then the main part is identifying your small and less traffic, means the service that's mainly not very very much into traffic, like in find out a small service that you can experiment with and do not experiment with live system. Create a clone system. Find out one service that you can provide as a separate service. So suppose if we have one EMR and we are trying to break down it monolith to microservice, and we have registration system, that's a small system, small our service that we want to first break down from our monolith. Then take that service, registration service, provide one proxy. In our case, proxy means the gateway. From gateway, you have to provide all the calls to this registration to a different service. You have to divert that call. So now you have two different systems, one very small registration service running separate, independent, and you have one big monolith application running without registration service. Now divert all registration service traffic to your registration service using proxy. Proxy is a very generic term. So mainly in microservice, you are using it gateway. In gateway configuration, you can divert any kind of traffic, divert that traffic. Work on your database, provide one independent private database to your registration service. And once you are satisfied that it's working fine, then go for a next service. So one by one, small by small. Small by small, if you will start using small services, after some time you will your monolith application size will be going smaller, and you will get a separate services, microservices, and at the end you will get a complete microservice. The main point of a strangler pattern is start small, use small services, remove small services, and build a completely separate microservice. So in this slide, it's the same thing. So transfer and eliminate pattern. You have to transform your small service into microservice, and using any kind of proxy or gateway, your both system will coexist. And after that, you are eliminating that service. You are removing that one from monolith. So at the same time, both old and new one will exist. And after some time, when you started removing small services, then in final product, you will get a complete microservices. In this slide also, it's the same thing. It's a router and legacy. So in our first transform, it's a monolith application. After that, you have one legacy system, and modern as a small service, like I mentioned, registration, if you are starting using from registration. And end result, you will get a complete microservice product. Next slide, Priyanka. So this one is explanation of our GitHub repository, what exactly we provided there and how you will run that. So in infrastructure, as I mentioned, first part we provided cloud config server. It's very important because it's the cloud config server provides a configuration for all microservices. So this cloud config server, we provided port number localhost and port number 8888 for cloud config server. After that, we have Eureka Discovery Server. Eureka Discovery Server provide a very nice admin. That admin you can admin UI you can view on 8761 port number. So every service will start on embedded Jetty or Tomcat server. That's why we have a completely different port for all microservices. All service run as independent Jetty server or a Tomcat server application. After that, we have Cloud Gateway server. In Cloud Gateway, mostly run on 8080 because it's mainly for UI part. After that, we have admin server localhost 9090. As I mentioned, admin server is necessary for viewing your Java related things and Spring Boot related configurations. So here you can see how much Java memory you are using, your real-time profiling, Java profiling, and Spring Boot help. Spring Boot also provide a very nice admin panel for admin server that you can view on 9090. After that, we have ELK server. For ELK server, you have to install Elasticsearch, Logstash, and Kibana. Logstash is available, but you have to download Elasticsearch and Kibana separately, and you have to run using start.bat or start.sh. So ELK running on 8282, but it will depend upon your Kibana port number. After that, for authentication authorization, we provided JWT server tokens that you have to use your application. And after that, for resiliency pattern, we provided hashtag codes. Hashtag stream provide information on a single application. So if you have more than one application in any way in microservices, we have more than one application. So using Turbine, we can also view get aggregated information or view at a single place. Apart from that, we have Zipkin for tracing application. And for that purpose, we have 9411 port. And after that, we have Seluth for providing trace ID and span ID. And if we are using any Grafana and any Grafana dashboard, that time we can also view custom monitor that we can monitor at single place. Next, Priyanka. So basically, in this one, we explain how to download and import and run. So from GitHub page, you have clone and download option. Using that option, you can download our infrastructure microservices, and you have to unzip that one. And after that, from Eclipse, you can import it as a Maven project. You click on file, then import an existing Maven project. In Maven project, you have to select that folder where you unzipped your microservices. And after that, next, Priyanka. After that, it will be available as a Maven project, but basically it's a Spring Boot project also. So after a successful form build or project build, it will be available as a Spring Boot app. So for running this, you can just right click on run as, and after that you can select a Spring Boot app. And after clicking on this one, you will get a running application. Next, Priyanka. So now demo part. So this one is our GitHub repository, SE MVP microservice. This code are provided by Invoker Tech. And we provided a small README also where you can look into this workflow and also a little information, some details. And after that, we provided port number and IP address also, mainly it's a local. And how to start it, understanding MVP application, and few screenshots. So we have to clone or download from here, or using command line also you can. After that, I have to unzip this and using import. So we can import this using this one. So just I already imported this. You can see this. Local admin server, API gateway, config, discovery, ELK, Hystrix, JWT, and all microservices. So this one is Eclipse. I will start from config server. You can see it's started at 8888. And in this config server, we provided one GitHub account information. This GitHub account, we provided our configuration, different configuration for different microservices. So from that GitHub account, it will fetch this information, and now our cloud is running. Now I will run our discovery service. I can see the discovery is also started running, and discovery also provide a very nice UI. So we will check UI part also. This one is running on 8761. This one is Spring Eureka server. Here we can see all the instance running and available and all other general information. Now I will run admin and API gateway. It started on port 9090. You can see the Spring Boot admin. Now you can see the information, health, instance, metadata, metrics, environment, means, all the logs, mapping. This one is admin server for health and different metrics. Now I will run gateway. Now gateway is running on 8080, but gateway do not provide any UI. So yes, it's not provide any UI. But we can see here our admin server and API gateway already running, and this Eureka or Discovery already registered it as a service. API gateway and admin service. Now we will run ELK. And for ELK, we have to also install Elasticsearch. We can download it from website, and from inside Bing, we can click on this elasticsearch.bat. Now it's running. We can see the output here. Port number is 9200. You can see this one is our coming from our Elasticsearch. Same way we have to run Kibana also. Now we are running Hestrix also. This one is Hestrix is available at 8181. Now we are running JWT. So now almost all infrastructure microservices are running on different port and communicating and helping each other for configuration, logging, providing metrics. Now we have to, means now all infrastructure microservices are running. Now we will start our one application, real application microservice.
Wait, just sorry to interrupt you. Just wanted to know if
Yep.
there is a different method of running each service, or is it the same? And we can jump to Q&A session, because I think some SEA members might have some questions here.
Priyanka, it's the same way we have to.
Yeah.
So we can
Are you
start
guys
Q&A. Yes.
comfortable, or you want to see the entire demo of running each services? Yeah. Okay, then we can jump to questions. Yeah.
Priyanka, probably this is Neeraj from Printlane. So can we see one patient registration and how the flow is happening, like when we are running this server? So is it like how these microservices are talking with each other, or do they talk with each other, or?
Yes.
These
So
are infrastructure services, Neeraj, talking to each other to deliver the necessary infrastructure services. The functional services are still in work with colleagues and SEM members and partners.
Okay.
We can maybe show you a sample. I don't know, but this is just one more microservice that will be collaborating with everything else. To deliver the necessary logging, tracing, search, security, privacy, consent, all of those features into a functional microservice. So the collaboration is the same method basically, internally.
Okay. Okay.
So soon we will be releasing the remaining microservice. As you know, it is based on the contribution of the community. So as soon as we get something from somewhere, somebody contributes it, volunteers are already working on it, only then we'll be able to release it, and maybe then we can have a demo again when we have 2 to 3 microservices in place for everyone. Right, Dr. Balaji?
Yeah, exactly.
So let me clarify on that. When we go to a temple, or when we go to, I being a Punjabi, when we go to a Gurudwara, there is a langar. So we all can eat the langar. So God doesn't differentiate between anybody. But at the same time, the expectation is that, you bow your head and also do kar seva along with it. So it's a community, right? So we all have to work towards building the community. If all of us contribute towards building the community, only then the community will survive. So it's like, how does the langar work? The langar works because everybody contributes towards it. Little, everyone contributes. So if we want to this langar to continue, then we need everyone to contribute. If you just take from it and give nothing back to it, the community will not continue, the langar will not continue. I hope that makes sense.
Absolutely spot on, Pankaj.
So if more people will come together, we can accelerate the process and make more services available for everyone. Hence, we are requesting it again and again. Now, let's open the session for Q&A.
Yes, Priyanka.
Please feel free to ask questions. Just introduce yourself and ask questions.
Hi, my name is Amit and I represent R2 Healthcare. I want to thank Ved and the rest of the team from the Access Health on this presentation. I'm kind of now getting a bigger picture, and I think this is going to help. Whatever the code has been shared over GitHub is definitely going to help our team here on the way how to look at the microservices. I mean, earlier, as Dr. Pankaj had mentioned, a few of us are hesitant on the microservices part, but I think this was a very good overview, or gave a better picture for me at least to how to approach the microservice part.
Thanks, Amit. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
So not only this, we will be there to handhold and guide you guys how to incorporate, how to make the services communicate with each other. We just want you to start something. If you're doing a new product development, please start using and sharing. Whatever you feel is pretty standard and can be reusable. We're not asking you to provide your innovative part or the custom code to us. We're just saying any standard which can be reused. As you use what Invoker Tech has already shared, they have actually done a lot of job for you. They have taken away the initial setup process by contributing so many infrastructure microservices.
So I had a follow-up question on this. At R2, we are, in the first half of this session, there was a discussion on the FHIR, and there were two ways of implementing it. One for the bigger org or the bigger hospitals, and the other one wherein we don't have to set up an exclusive FHIR service. So for those in that context, where we're not targeting at a bigger picture, and obviously a small software will not be interested in implementing all the fields or all the features. So how will this system going to work? I mean, be compatible with a bigger system or the other way around? Because we are not going to implement all possible fields, right? So will there be any extra steps to be taken so that they are interoperable?
Let me take that question.
What do you mean by
Ved.
bigger system? What do you mean by
I mean,
bigger?
in the first half, there was a mention on hospitals which is going to implement the entire features of the hospital information system, right? And there are organizations like us where we would not be implementing entire feature like a lab or probably any other system in a hospital. So in this scenario, I was asking if would there be any special consideration or we have to take for interoperability?
Yeah, Balaji can answer the question, but I wanted to just say that, look at Netflix. See, Netflix runs on a small phone, it runs on a tablet, on a laptop, on a TV, and now Netflix is ready to run in cinema halls.
Okay.
In fact, it started running in cinema halls in LA in the US. All right. So big system, small system, that concept is all gone. It's out of the window.
Okay.
Balaji, over to you.
Amit, yes, if you had carefully observed in the morning session, we had said that there are two options and both will be made available over time. One with a standard file server installation, another with an embedded file server within the e-object structure itself. That part of it will definitely be available.
Okay.
And soon. So once it's made available, if you want further, clarification, you can talk directly to Ved, as we have been doing so.
Sure. Thanks.
No problem.
Any other question?
Hi, I'm Ajay here from Srishti Software. From morning till evening, the session has been very useful, and this drill down, I think, for technical people, it has been like very good with the two different systems examples, also how they are sharing the messages and objects. So what I will request Dr. Pankaj or Priyanka perhaps is to present some kind of futuristic timeline. What is the timeline when we hope this whole thing will materialize? Of course, from September till now, we are seeing a lot of things have materialized and it has come up in concrete shape. So what is the future forward perhaps that will help to match the speed of the developers and technical people?
Ajay, thank you first of all for all the kind words, nice words. Without support like friends like you, this community is not possible. We've come far, but we've come far, with the support of all of you guys. Going forward also, the going is going to get actually tough because the larger ecosystem is watching us. There are going to be proprietary battles. There are going to be large system battles. There are going to be legacy system battles. There are going to be, policy battles anyway, we are fighting on your behalf. And thankfully, we have a very strong leadership in Modi ji. He's amazing. He has enabled all of the things that have happened. Going forward, healthcare is on the top of his agenda. He wants healthcare for all. Look at the policy changes he has brought in after COVID hit all of us. So health insurance for all workers has already been done. Health insurance cards for the entire country are going to be issued. Citizenship health ID cards are going to be issued. NDHM has already been announced it is coming. So in terms of timeline, I'm not sure if I will it may be like overstepping my responsibility if I put a timeline to it. But clearly, the leadership of the country is in a hurry, and there is a clarion call given by Modi ji to be, vocal for local. So, Atmanirbhar Bharat. So he says very clearly that stop looking outside, be the leader. So that's what we are trying to do. We are just responding to his call. And NDHM work has already started. I mean, in terms of putting the pieces together, the administrative work is going on. And once it is out there, then we will sort of look towards NDHM and contribute towards the success of NDHM. One of the digital health leaders, somebody from the digital health marketplace and from the administrative circles is going to go and sit there and make things happen. Now, who will that be? We don't know yet, but that is what is going to drive everything going forward. What happens is every anniversary of Ayushman Bharat, which is September of every year, Modi ji does make big announcements. So that is approaching very soon. And he's really hoping that by then a lot of these building blocks fall in place and big announcements are enabled. So we should look towards that and work towards that. And when the large body at the national level is constituted, there will be obviously working committees that will come up, and some of us will go and contribute towards the working committees, and then we will put the dates onto the tasks that need to be done. So that's all I can say for now, but let's work towards September this year to get the maximum work rolling. If the microservices and the e-objects can start working in the market, that will be great by September.
Thank you, Dr. Pankaj. It's quite reassuring for all of us to hear that policy changes are happening, and Modi ji's clarion call we all are very excited about. So we are also putting our heart and soul behind it. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Let me add to that. I think there's something else that also needs to be felt by everybody here, that to a large part our destiny is in our own hands. The timeline, the roadmap, we as a community push for it. You guys get together and support us. The timeline will be 10 times faster than what even other people expect. So to a large extent, we are a self-sustaining, self-driving force, and we can drive this tremendously if we have everybody together, working together.
Yes, sure, Balaji, absolutely. It has to be all of us together. So usually, in these sessions, we do have the opportunity of having photographs at the end. So I'm not sure how we will do that towards the end of this session. And I have not been able to host all of you. So all the tea, coffee, and lunch is something I haven't been able to offer. But at least, the interactions have been wonderful. And, Priyanka, whatever is left, let's complete it. And, I think it's been a wonderful session all day.
Yes. There's just one small session that has been pending, which is basically envisioning the future that Ajay was requesting for, not a timeline, but how everything will come together. So that is a HIEAF session that will be presented by Krishan Bharadwaj. Krishan sir,